Watch the entire video, my lovely viewers, from start to finish, to get the whole thing. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into it. Hi lovely viewers, it's me again, your one and only Mutati Mpundu. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time on my channel, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting the subscribe button down below. Turn the bell icon to join the notification squad. Don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Tell me what you think about this video in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you lovely viewers.
Fellow countrymen and women, a very good morning to you all. We are here this morning as Tonse Alliance to address a number of issues which have been raised by the UPND government through various individuals in the past few days, which we saw necessary to respond as Tonse Alliance. This press briefing was scheduled for 08 hours. However, due to scheduling conflicts, we decided to move it forward to 7 hours. The structure of our press briefing this morning is that we are going to talk about three specific issues. The first issue that we are going to talk about is the untimely demise of Honorable Edith Nawakwi, who was the party president for the Forum for Democracy and Development, FDD, which was a member of the Tonse Alliance, and the various types of propaganda that the current government have put forward regarding the demise of Honorable Edith Nawakwi. The second issue that we are going to address is the issue of the continued incarceration without bail of Honorable Geoffrey Waliamwamba, generally known as GBM, despite his continued illness, and the propaganda by the UPND government regarding the proposed evacuation of GBM to a hospital either in India or in South Africa. The third issue that we are going to address this morning is the issue of our Alliance chairman, who is President Edgar Lungu, the 60th Republican president, who is also the PF president, and the propaganda that has come from various government officials regarding his stay in South Africa, where he is located at the moment. And after that, we are going to take some questions and respond to those questions. So in terms of the overall structure, this is intended to be a very short press briefing, and we intend to spend a total of 20 minutes on the substantive issues, and then spend 10 minutes to address the various questions that you might have as members of the public as well as the media. So allow us now to proceed to the first issue on the agenda, which is the issue of the untimely demise of President Edith Nawakwi, who was the party president of the FDD. I'm referring to the demise of Honorable Edith Nawakwi as untimely because she was relatively young. She was only 66 years old. And when I visited the funeral house the day before yesterday in the company of other Tonse Alliance leaders, we had the opportunity of meeting her father, the father to the late Edith Nawakwi. And I must mention that the father is very energetic and very vibrant, and which makes it very sad that we are burying the daughter, and which makes her death very untimely. I must mention that Honorable Edith Nawakwi was a very focused politician, as well as senior citizen of this country, and she has always been held in very high regard by various administrations. In terms of her checks and balances, which she provided throughout her time in the opposition, These checks and balances rubbed various administrations the wrong way. She was very firm on the Manawasa administration. She was very firm on the Arabi administration. She was very firm on the SATA administration. She was equally firm on the ECL administration. But none of these administrations were vengeful towards her. None of these administrations tried to lock her up. And when you compare to what is transpiring under the current administration, from our standpoint, I want to put it on record that most of the charges, in fact, all the charges that were slapped on Honorable Edith Nawakwi by the UPND government were frivolous charges, and they were intended to keep her locked up because, in our belief, President Hakainde Hichilema had a personal beef. He had a personal vendetta against President Edith Nawakwi. And take, for instance, the charge which kept her in court for a very long period of time, which is the charge of abduction, the charge of her having abducted the Hatembos. When you look at the allegations that were leveled against the late Edith Nawakwi by the current administration, they were saying that Honorable Edith Nawakwi put a knife on the neck of one of the Hatembos and told that person that if they move, she would kill them. Surely, countrymen and women, can anyone of any reasonable person out there ever conceive or picture Honorable Edith Nawakwi putting a knife on the neck of someone and telling that person that if you move, I'm going to kill you? That is inconceivable. It is totally inconceivable, and it illustrates the extent to which the current administration, under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, was very intent to ensure that Honorable Edith Nawakwi is incarcerated, is locked up in prison, just like other vocal politicians who the current government has successfully managed to lock up in prison, including Honorable Stotera, Honorable Nixon Chirangwa, Honorable Munia Zulu. The list is endless. So we can see clearly that the charges against Honorable Edith Nawakwi were fabricated, and they amounted to persecution by the current administration. Additionally, countrymen and women, when the health of Honorable Edith Nawakwi started failing, the current administration of President Hakainde Hichilema had no compassion towards Honorable Edith Nawakwi. The last charge that the current administration slapped on the late Honorable Edith Nawakwi was seditious practices after she commented on the abduction of the former Petauke Member of Parliament, Honorable J.J. Banda. And when the police went to her house, she was very sick at the time. And when they got her, she had to carry her medication. And when she was put in the police cells, her medication bag was ordered not to be allowed inside the cells. So she was incarcerated for a prolonged period of time, more than a week actually, without her medication. And from our standpoint as Tonse Alliance, we believe that it is that time when Honorable Edith Nawakwi was incarcerated without her cancer medication that her illness worsened. It was at that time that she started deteriorating, because she had been on the cancer medication for a prolonged period of time, and she was just fine. She was just fine until the current government, the police, went and locked her up and denied her her cancer medication for a prolonged period of time of more than a week. And her health started going downhill. So for all intents and purposes, the current administration of President Hakainde Hichilema had a huge contribution. They had a big contribution towards the untimely death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi by denying her medication when she was charged with seditious practices sometime in July of 2024. From that time, her health never recovered. It never recovered whatsoever. And despite her ill health, she made every effort to try and attend court sessions of the frivolous charges that the government of President Hakainde Hichilema slapped on Honorable Edith Nawakwi. She made every effort. And whenever she appeared in court, we all saw that she was very frail and she didn't just want to miss court sessions. However, we saw that along the way, despite her desire to attend court sessions, she was not able to attend because she was bedridden. And even at that time, when Honorable Edith Nawakwi tried to go for medical treatment in India, as she had always done, she was denied that opportunity because of the frivolous charges that were put on her. And that also contributed to her health deteriorating. Let us not forget that, countrymen and women. And in the midst of all that, President Hakainde Hichilema's government saw it necessary to move the court, the magistrates' court. The DPP made an application for the court to be moved to Honorable Edith Nawakwi's house so that the court sessions can be held in Honorable Edith Nawakwi's house as she is lying down on the bed. Surely, countrymen and women, are those the actions of a compassionate government? My answer to that question is a definite no. It's a definite no. And given the level of contribution of President Hakainde Hichilema and his government towards the untimely death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi, our position is that the President, together with his cabinet, should not mourn Honorable Edith Nawakwi, because by pretending to mourn Honorable Edith Nawakwi, they are essentially, they are essentially making those of us who truly loved Honorable Edith Nawakwi to feel angered, because these are people who contributed to the untimely death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi in two ways. Number one, by incarcerating her in police cells when she was very sick and denying her medication when she was charged with seditious practices. And number two, by denying her an opportunity to travel to India. I had a chat with Honorable Edith Nawakwi at her house on several occasions, and she told me to say she has been unable to travel to India for her usual medication because the government has denied her the ability to travel out because of the frivolous charges that she was facing. And then when Honorable Edith Nawakwi was completely sick, she was not able to speak, she was not able to see, they decided, the government of President Hakainde Hichilema decided to carry the half-dead corpse of Honorable Edith Nawakwi to South Africa so that they can do propaganda and say they evacuated her. They didn't evacuate Honorable Edith Nawakwi when she was alive. They evacuated Honorable Edith Nawakwi when she was half dead. That is when she was evacuated to South Africa. And that, countrymen and women, is an insult by the current government to those of us who cherished and who loved Honorable Edith Nawakwi. And our final submission on Honorable Edith Nawakwi is that President Hakainde Hichilema and his government should instead celebrate the death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi, because there's no doubt in our minds that they are happy that Honorable Edith Nawakwi is normal. If they did not want Honorable Edith Nawakwi to die, they would have given her access to her medication. Those of you who take medication know that if a person misses their medication for a week, then they are unlikely to recover, especially if someone has a terminal illness such as cancer. You miss your medication for 1 week, you start going downhill, and you'll be very lucky if you're going to ever turn back and go back to your health. And that is exactly the contribution that President Hakainde Hichilema and his government made towards the death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi. So let the UPND government, let the praise singers go and celebrate the death of Honorable Edith Nawakwi. Let them host a braai. Let the UPND government host a braai for their supporters in Woodland Stadium. Let them slaughter cattle and let them enjoy the festivities, because the person that they wanted dead is finally dead. Countrymen and women, allow me to move on to the issue of Honorable Geoffrey Walyamwamba. Honorable Geoffrey Walyamwamba was convicted by the Magistrates Court of conflict of interest regarding an alleged tender that he bid for way back when he was still Minister of Defense under the leadership of President Michael Sata. Now, it is worth remembering, countrymen and women, that the issue of that alleged conflict of interest was investigated at that time, and he was cleared because there are documents clearly showing that he did actually declare his interest. But nonetheless, he was convicted. Now, it must be remembered, countrymen and women, that despite that conviction, first of all, when you look at the sentence to which Honorable GBM was sentenced to, which is 5 years, that is the maximum sentence for that offense. And given the fact that Honorable GBM is a first offender, he has contributed significantly to this country. From our standpoint, that sentence was very harsh. But let's come to the issue at hand, which is the health, or rather the deteriorating health of Honorable GBM, who we understand is currently admitted at Mainasoko Military Hospital. Countrymen and women, there are a lot of people in this country who have been convicted by the Magistrates Court, and they have actually been given bail pending appeal of their conviction and sentence. The question is, why can't Honorable GBM be given bail pending appeal of his sentence? Why is he being denied bail? Because when you look at the explanations which are being put forward by the government through the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, through the government spokesperson and various other individuals, their narrative is that they are unable to evacuate GBM to South Africa or India because they have received correspondence by the South African government that they cannot accommodate someone who is under imprisonment, that they do not have facilities at the hospital which can accommodate that. And because of that, they are taking their time to try and resolve that issue with the South African government. Now, countrymen and women, what we must remember is that we are talking about the health of someone here. We are talking about a life and death situation here. So the question is, instead of the government giving us excuses why they cannot evacuate GBM to South Africa, why can't they give him bail pending appeal so that instead of sending prison warders to accompany him to South Africa, he can just go with his family? That is a question that you should be asking President Hakainde Hichilema. That is a question that you should be asking Jack Mwimbu. That is the question you should be asking Cornelius Mwetwa. That is the question you should be asking Thabo Kawana. Why are they giving excuses? We are dealing with a life and death situation here. The health of GBM is more important than the need for him to serve his sentence. We have people who have been convicted in this country and they are out on bail pending appeal and they are living reasonably normal lives. A case in point is the former Vice President, Dr. Nevas Mumba. Dr. Nevas Mumba was convicted a few years ago and he was given bail pending appeal and he is here roaming the streets. He is even able to contribute to the political discourse of the country. Why? Because he was given bail pending appeal. So why can't the government extend the same courtesy to Honorable GBM? Because when you look at Dr. Nevas Mumba, he is in very healthy condition. Even at the time that he was given bail pending appeal, he was very healthy. He was very, very healthy. When you compare to Honorable GBM, who is hospitalized. So when you weigh between the two, between Dr. Nevas Mumba, who was given bail pending appeal for his corruption conviction, and Honorable GBM, who is hospitalized at the moment, you compare the medical condition of the two, my view, as well as the view of any reasonable Zambian, would be that Honorable GBM deserves bail pending appeal more than did Dr. Nevas Mumba when he was convicted. That would be my submission. So my challenge to President Hakainde Hichilema, my challenge to the Minister of Home Affairs, Jack Mwimbu, is that why can't you allow GBM to get bail pending appeal? Why is it that when his lawyers go and apply for bail pending appeal, the state opposes that application vigorously? Why? Is it a case of vengeance? Is it, because clearly this does not appear to be a case of justice. It doesn't appear to be a case of justice. So our final submission is that Honorable GBM should be given bail pending appeal, if not for any other reason, then for the reason that he is very sick at the moment. And if he does not get medical attention in time, we risk losing Honorable GBM, just like we lost Honorable Edith Nawakwi. And we cannot be a nation which is happy to see our statesmen dying because we don't agree with their opinions, because we don't agree with their viewpoints, because we consider them as our political opponents. We cannot be such a nation which is happy to see those we don't agree with perish in an untimely fashion due to lack of access to medical facilities. We cannot be such a harsh nation. We should not be. We should not be such a harsh nation. So my appeal to President Hakainde Hichilema is, please give Honorable GBM, allow Honorable GBM to have bail pending appeal. And if you are not able to do that, then give him an unconditional pardon. He has suffered in prison enough. Give him an unconditional pardon. Because if we talk about bail, we know that President Hakainde Hichilema likes to avoid responsibility. So when we talk about bail, he's going to say, no, that is an issue of the judiciary. Me, I have nothing to do with it. So here is something that President Hakainde Hichilema can directly do today, right now. He can unconditionally pardon Honorable GBM, and by 12 hours or by 14 hours today, Honorable GBM can be on a flight to South Africa to receive medical attention. So that's a challenge to you, President Hakainde Hichilema. If you do not hate your brother, GBM, give him a pardon so that he can be able to travel. By 14 hours, he will be on a flight. By evening, he will be receiving medical treatment, instead of us having to have a situation where we are likely to start mourning Honorable GBM due to his lack of access to medical facilities. So that is our submission on the issue of GBM. Now, allow me to move to the last issue, which is the issue of the various government statements on the 60th Republican president, who is also the PF president, who is also the Tonse Alliance chairman, and who is also the Tonse Alliance 2026 presidential candidate. Now, countrymen and women, before I move on to the various other issues I want to address regarding our 2026 presidential candidate, President Edgar Lungu, allow me to categorically state that the assertions which were made by Mr. Tawo Kawana during his press briefing yesterday were totally false. Number one, let me address them categorically. Number one, the 60th Republican president, Dr. Edgar Lungu, has had no contact with President Hakainde Hichilema ever since Dr. Edgar Lungu went to South Africa. Prior to that, yes, they used to have a chat here and there, every now and then. But ever since Dr. Edgar Lungu traveled to South Africa, he has never had any contact, any conversation with President Hakainde Hichilema. That is number one. I wanted to make that very clear. Number two, President Edgar Lungu, the 60th Republican president, has never spoken with Mr. Tawo Kawana ever since he went to South Africa. The only thing that the 60th Republican president and Tonse Alliance chairman did was to send a message of well wishes to Mr. Tawo Kawana when Mr. Tawo Kawana was admitted in South Africa for his kidney treatment. Since President ECL was in South Africa, at the same time, he saw it necessary to actually send a message of well wishes to Mr. Tawo Kawana. And this must be appreciated because ever since Mr. Tawo Kawana was appointed to the UPND government, he has piled all sorts of insults against President Edgar Lungu. And despite all that, the 60th Republican president saw it necessary to send a message of well wishes and quick recovery to Mr. Tawo Kawana. That was the closest interaction that the 60th Republican president had with Mr. Tawo Kawana when Mr. Tawo Kawana was in hospital in South Africa. I also want to make it very clear, countrymen and women, I want to make it very clear that at no time did the 60th Republican president tell either President Hakainde Hichilema or Mr. Tao Kawana that he is in South Africa receiving chemotherapy. At no time. And I want to make it very clear, countrymen and women, that the Tonse Alliance chairman, who is also the 60th Republican president, went to South Africa for medical checkups. And he did those medical checkups, and some of those medical checkups required various tests that took time for those tests to be completed and for the results to be availed. As we speak right now, as soon as the last results for those various medical tests are presented to the president and he's given a clean bill of health, he will be ready to travel to Zambia. He will be on his way back to Zambia. Now, we have seen a lot of propaganda by the president of Hakainde Hichilema towards the Tonse Alliance chairman, Dr. ECL. The first propaganda was that government was paying medical bills for the 60th Republican president. That, countrymen and women, is a total lie. At no time has President Hakainde Hichilema's government paid even one ungwe towards the medical tests that President Edgar Lungu is undergoing in South Africa. Not even a single way. And those medical tests were very expensive, they were very costly, but government never contributed. Government has never contributed towards the ticket for Dr. Edgar Lungu to travel to South Africa, his aeroplane ticket, and in between, the former First Lady, Mrs. Lungu, has been traveling to and from South Africa, and at no time has government ever offered even one ungwe to contribute towards her plane ticket. Never. Not one ungwe, nothing. So the first assertion was totally wrong. It was total propaganda. Government has never contributed a single way towards the medical tests that President Edgar Lungu is undergoing in South Africa at the moment. The second issue is about chemotherapy. At no time has President Edgar Lungu undergone any such treatment. The president is undergoing medical tests, and that is the main thing that is preoccupying him there in South Africa. As soon as those tests are done, then the president will be on his way back to Zambia to continue being the statesman that he has always been. And countrymen and women, it is also worth noting that one of the reasons why President Edgar Lungu has been forced to undertake these numerous medical tests is because he has always had scheduled medical tests every year. He is supposed to undergo medical tests every year, but he did not undergo medical tests for 3 years, ever since the UPND government came into office. The last time that the Tonse Alliance chairman wanted to go for his medical tests in South Africa, when they were due after 12 months, he was removed from the aircraft at Kenneth Kaunda International Airport. And all of you, I'm sure, remember that incident. He was removed for no explanation by President Hakainde Hichilema's government. He was removed. They had no regard to the Tonse Alliance chairman's health. They had no regard to his well-being. They had no regard to the fact that the 60th Republican president had annual scheduled medical tests which needed to be done every year. They had no regard to that. They just put him out of the aeroplane at KK International Airport and told him he cannot travel. They did not give any explanation for that. They did not tell him whether he's under house arrest. They didn't say anything. They just put him out of the plane. And that, countrymen and women, is the reason why when the 60th Republican president had an opportunity to travel to South Africa, he had to make sure that he had to do all the medical tests which were scheduled for the previous 3 years. Had the UPND government, had President Hakainde Hichilema allowed the 60th Republican president to go on his annual medical checkups, this particular medical checkup would not have taken this long. It would have just taken maybe 2 weeks, and ECL would have been back to Zambia. So President Hakainde Hichilema and his UPND government have a contribution to why President ECL is still in South Africa undergoing the medical tests that he's undergoing. But as if that was not enough, as if the current government are not ashamed of having prevented Dr. ECL from traveling to South Africa, they then proceeded to claim that they are paying his medical tests. And then when we told the nation that that was a total fabrication, they then proceeded to fabricate that the former president is actually sick and that he is undergoing chemotherapy when the president is in South Africa undergoing medical tests. So you can see that we seem to have a government which is very, they have a dark side. They wish bad for everyone. They wish their political opponents to be sick. They have no regard for the health of their political opponents, and they wish ill will for their political opponents. It is the wish, I believe, it is my strong belief that it is the wish of the current administration that Dr. Edgar Lungu would be unwell. It is their wish, in my belief, that they would want the tests that come out to show that he's not okay. And I'm sure they would celebrate that. But I pray to a living God, just like a lot of other Zambians out there pray to a living God, and we are confident that when the medical results, all the medical results come out, those medical results are actually going to clear Dr. Edgar Lungu, and that they are going to declare him fit, and that at that point, Dr. Edgar Lungu will then be in a position to travel to Zambia. Dr. Edgar Lungu cannot be rushed to travel to Zambia when he has not completed his medical tests, because his health is very, very important to him, just like it is important to us as his friends. It is very important to us as his political colleagues, as it is important to us who see him as our statesman, who love and cherish him. He is very important to us, and his health is very important. So we are not going to allow a situation whereby either President Hakainde Hichilema or Jack Mwimbu or Cornelius Mwetwa or Thabo Kawana compel the 16th Republican president to abandon his medical tests in South Africa and rush back to Zambia so that they are able to demonstrate that what the government is saying is total fabrication. We are not going to allow that. We will ensure that the 16th Republican president continues with his medical tests. He waits for those results, and we are hopeful that those medical results are going to clear him of any ailment, and that he will be cleared to return to Zambia so that he can continue contributing to the political dispensation of this country. Talking about the issue of political dispensation, countrymen and women, we heard sentiments from Mr. Thabo Kawana yesterday that Dr. Edgar Lungu should be allowed to rest. He should not be compelled to participate in the political discourse of this country. Countrymen and women, Dr. Edgar Lungu made a conscious decision that he is come back to politics. He made a conscious decision. And subsequent to that, we as the Tonse Alliance adopted him as our 2026 presidential candidate. Of course, he suffered a temporary setback when the Constitutional Court on the 10th of December of last year said that he was not eligible to stand in 2026. But we have since challenged that wrong decision of the Constitutional Court. We have challenged that. And we have clearly demonstrated to the Constitutional Court that they violated the Constitution by rendering such a judgment. Specifically, Article 52, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution, which clearly lays out to say if anyone wants to challenge the eligibility of a candidate to stand in an election, they can only file such a challenge, and the court can only make a determination after that candidate has filed their nomination. Countrymen and women, it's a matter of common sense. It's a matter of common sense that President ECL has not yet filed his nomination for 2026. So by ruling that ECL was not eligible in 2026, the Constitutional Court contravened, they violated the same constitution that they are supposed to protect. It must be remembered, countrymen and women, that the job of the Constitutional Court is to interpret the Constitution. It is not the job of the Constitutional Court to amend the Constitution. It is not their job. Their job is to interpret the Constitution. So that is why we took that petition back to the Constitutional Court and told the court that you have violated the Constitution. You, the Constitutional Court, have violated the clear text of the Constitution. What is your say on that? Countrymen and women, speaking for myself as Sean Tembo, I'm very confident that we are going to carry the day, that Dr. Edgar Lungu is going to be on the ballot in 2026. Now, allow me to address the issue of Dr. Edgar Lungu being on the ballot. And people's sentiments to say, you, Tonse Alliance, why are you insisting on Dr. Edgar Lungu to be on the ballot? Is it that any of you are not capable of representing the alliance and being on the ballot? To the contrary, the Tonse Alliance is made up of men and women who are very capable of leading this country. And our choice that Dr. Edgar Lungu should be our presidential candidate in 2026 was arrived at because we feel that he is the best candidate for us. If at any point in time between now and 2026, Dr. Edgar Lungu decided that he does not want to be on the ballot, he does not want to stand, then he will have an opportunity to identify a person that can replace him from within the alliance. But that decision can only be made by Dr. Edgar Lungu himself and not through Mingalato. It should not be made through Mingalato. ECL should not be prevented from being on the ballot because of Mingalato of either the government of the day or the Constitutional Court. That one, countrymen and women, we are going to fight tooth and nail. We are not going to allow Mingalato to be the reason that ECL is not on the ballot. The only time that ECL cannot be on the ballot is if ECL himself decides that I do not want to be on the ballot. For as long as ECL is willing to be on the ballot, he shall be on the ballot. Any Mingalato that are going to come our way, we are going to challenge those Mingalato. We are going to expose those Mingalato in the same way, in the same manner and fashion that we are challenging and exposing the Mingalato that took place on the 10th of December 2024 when the Constitutional Court declared that Dr. ECL was not eligible to be on the ballot paper in 2026 in violation, in clear violation, very clear violation of Article 52, Sub-Article 4 of the Constitution. And it is our submission now, and it has been our submission in our petition to the Constitutional Court, that the Constitutional Court has got no power to amend the Constitution of Zambia. And that the Constitution of Zambia is very clear on how you can challenge a person who is a candidate in an election. And that the Constitution makes it very clear. Even a first-year student of law can clearly see that the Constitution is very instructive. A first-year student of law. Even a grade 7 civics student can see that the Constitution is very clear. So it is our expectation that our petition is going to be favorably looked upon because any reasonable person, I'm saying reasonable because some people are not reasonable, but any reasonable person will be able to see that the decision of the Constitutional Court of 10th December 2024 violated the Constitution. And we cannot have a situation where the court, which is supposed to uphold the Constitution, is in the forefront violating the Constitution. And we are confident that our petition will succeed. And we are confident that Dr. ECL is going to be on the ballot as the Tonse Alliance presidential candidate. Countrymen and women, having stated and outlined the three key issues that we needed to address, which is the issue of government propaganda on President Nawakwi, the issue of government's excuses, government shallow excuses why they don't want to allow GBM to go for medical treatment, and government propaganda that President Hakainde Hichilema and Dr. ECL talk. They don't talk. As a matter of fact, it is my belief personally that President Hakainde Hichilema hates his colleague, the 60th Republican president, with a passion. Because if President Hakainde Hichilema never hated ECL, he would have allowed the ECL to go for his annual medical reviews. He would not have removed his brother from the aeroplane when his medical checkups were due. You must understand that the 60th Republican president is approaching his 70s. And therefore, for a person who is approaching his 70s, they need their regular medical checkups. If you are going to deny your brother, you are president, you deny your brother the ability to go for a medical checkup, it means that you hate that brother, and he's not your brother. So Tawakawana should not come to the media and try to give a false perception that ECL and HH are brothers. They are not brothers. ECL wishes HH was his brother, but HH does not want ECL to be in good health. He doesn't wish goodwill towards ECL. So there is no brotherhood that can happen when one brother is wishing death for the other brother. That is not brotherhood. So Tawakawana, you must get this clearly, and the Zambian people should get it clearly, that is in as much as ECL wishes HH to be his brother, in as much as ECL would want to embrace HH as his brother, President Hakainde Hichilema does not reciprocate. And we saw that when he sent security personnel to remove ECL from an aeroplane at KK International Airport and prevent ECL from going for his medical checkup. And now that ECL managed to go for his medical checkup and took the opportunity when the UN Special Rapporteur was arriving at the airport, Dr. ECL took that opportunity to also travel. And the UPND government were ashamed of preventing the 60th Republican president from traveling because the UN Special Rapporteur was at the airport at the same time. And there were a lot of UN officials. If Dr. ECL had tried to travel to South Africa at the time that the UN Special Rapporteur was not at the airport, then I'm very confident that President Hakainde Hichilema would have again prevented ECL from going for his medical checkups. So clearly we can see the writing on the wall that President Hakainde Hichilema does not wish well for ECL, in as much as ECL has got good wishes towards his brother. And that's the reason why he peacefully handed over power to him. But President Hakainde Hichilema appears to be very strong-hearted. He does not wish well for his political opponents. He didn't wish well to the late Edith Nawakwi, and that is why he ensured that Nawakwi was locked up in police cells and denied her medication for more than a week, which contributed to the death of Edith Nawakwi. And that is the reason why President Hakainde Hichilema is preventing Honorable GBM from traveling to either South Africa or India for medical attention. Why he is failing to give a medical pardon. Even in the Constitution, a medical pardon is there. And in this country, among all the incarcerated politicians, if there is anyone who is deserving of a medical pardon, it is Honorable Govt GBM. He is deserving of a medical pardon. But President Hakainde Hichilema is unable to do that. Why? Because speaking for myself, I'm very confident that President Hakainde Hichilema is a very strong-hearted person. He does not wish well for his political opponents. He does not see us as mere political opponents, but he sees us as his enemies. And countrymen and women, we as citizens of this republic cannot build a strong nation if we perceive each other as enemies instead of political opponents. We merely have a difference of opinion on how we want to develop this country. That is the only difference we have with our colleagues in the UPND. We merely have a difference of opinion. So why should the difference of opinion make us become enemies? We all want to develop this country. We all want what is good for Zambia. So why should that make us enemies? Why should President Hakainde Hichilema see those of us who oppose him as his enemies? Countrymen and women, let us all pray for President Hakainde Hichilema so that he can have a good heart, he can have a soft heart towards his fellow citizens, and together we can build this nation. Zambia is in need of sound leadership. Zambia is in need of unity, and that unity cannot come about without the participation and contribution of the Republican president, who at present is Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Countrymen and women, due to time constraints, allow us to end this press briefing at this point. We thank you for tuning in. We thank you for your various contributions, and we are very grateful that we have been able to discuss these three key issues, and together as a nation, as citizens of this country, we hope that we can find an urgent and beneficial solution towards the issue of Honorable GBM, so that he can be able to access the necessary medical attention. I thank you all and have a good morning.
This is DJ Mutati exclusive.
Alright, that's all for you today, lovely viewers. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about the video you just watched in the comment section below. I'll be super glad to hear from you, lovely viewers. Once again, I go by the name of Mutati Mpundu. I love you, peace, I gotta go.